right, everyone. We're here with the 4th episode of Night Time.
Wow!
I know, long awaited.
Wahoo!
Unless you're binging.
Shut up.
You know what? Okay, so you just heard Jake say wahoo, and you heard Jamie get upset about that. At the end of this episode, I'll show you why.
I hate you. Okay. I knew this was coming.
It's gonna show up, so just stay tuned for that. But this episode,
oh my God.
In case you somehow missed this, we finished season 1.
Yeah.
That happened, and as a way to kind of celebrate that, we asked you all for questions, and you sent them in. So a huge thank you to everybody who sent in questions. We really appreciate that.
If you don't know that and you haven't listened to that episode yet, you probably should, or this won't make any sense.
Yeah, make sure you've listened to every episode before this one.
Don't have this be your first episode.
Do not start here. Don't start here.
Nighttime 4.
Don't start here.
Wait, should that be our new intro? Just like, welcome to Night's Quest, don't start with this one.
Welcome to Night's Quest. Go back.
Go back, and then
Now get out.
Start, and then we'll edit the first one and say, start here. But yeah, so we're gonna read your questions. We're gonna try to read as many as we can, and we're gonna answer them. Some might have
some good ones.
Some might have short answers, some might have long answers.
Yep.
We're just going to feel it out. I have no idea how long this episode will be. You do.
It's like 10 minutes long. We just breeze through all the questions.
Well,
you do. You know how long it is. It says it right there. You're probably checking. Unless you're driving. Don't check if you're driving.
Unless it says so on your cool... If you have like a 2016 or newer car and it says
it
the time on the dash.
You can check that. Yeah, you can check that. Anyway, we should probably do questions.
Yeah.
Jake, are you ready for questions?
I am.
Jamie?
yeah, kind of.
Well, I guess.
Time out. Hello?
Well, that was perfect.
No, I'm fucking keeping that. You just got a random phone call.
I really like the timing of that. I think it had a nice flow.
I know, that was really good. All right, we're going to start with an easy one, maybe.
Sure.
Sent in by Kelly. She asks, who is your favorite character to play? Jamie?
Obviously, the slippery one. No question. I feel like this question was not intended for me.
I don't know. I feel like you I mean, the slippery one is a valid answer.
He's played Ragnar Bjornsson 40-plus episodes, and he goes, guys, I really want it to be about this character we killed.
I've been on the record as saying that I believe in my heart of hearts that he has survived because of his inherently slippery nature. Not everyone on this podcast agrees with me, so that is a creative difference.
Season 5.
Exactly. We'll have to see how that plays out.
Yeah. Jake?
It's tough because I feel like every character has a part of me in it, and I feel like I've tried to not have every character be a snarky asshole, but it kind of works out that way in a different forms. So I'd say it would be a toss-up between... It's a 3-way tie between Eloise, Katrina, and Quiss. I don't know. Jonathan's up there too. It's tough because they all
just say all of them.
But it's not all of them. Like, there are characters that I enjoy definitely more than others, but I feel like those are my top 4 favorites. But then there's also like rando characters that I've really enjoyed playing as well. So yeah, I would say like consistent characters. I really enjoy Quiss, Katrina, Jonathan, and Eloise. I had a lot of fun with Market Mark.
Oh God.
Terrence, of course.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I enjoy most of the characters.
You really did and I say it was really impressive and surprising because it wasn't a funny character, so it caught me off guard how good this character was. Lord Burnrust, like way back in the beginning.
Oh yeah.
Like you put so much you put the voice into it, and you put a lot of thought into how he would act and talk, and like it wasn't outright a bunch of jokes, which is like
the way
made
that
it even
you
better.
Played Burnrust changed a lot of how I felt like I had to play Salazar.
Yeah.
Because in my head originally I pictured Burnrust being like a pushover, and he wasn't.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he kind of was, but
not as much as I thought.
Right. But then there was another character, and I'm trying to remember, because in my head I remember thinking about the same kind of stuff playing like Rita McKellen. Wasn't intentionally funny, but it ended up being that way, and I think that was because of all the stuff that we had to do with Mirjik, and he was like burning the book and everything.
And we named him Reader McKellen, so he was kind of doomed from the start.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. What about you, Nathan?
That's a good question. I think my favorites are just kind of been the weird ones where I end up laughing along. I mean, I love Leroy. Murgic is just really fun to play because I don't know what he's going to do next.
Definitely.
And especially, I like the rhyming bits. They're a challenge, and I enjoy it.
Yeah, and I mean, for those of you listening, you can't really tell when you're just listening to the edited episode, but like most of the time, the rhymes are pretty off the cuff. Like, he doesn't take a ton of time.
Yeah, I think there's only been like once where I was like, "Nah, that sucked."
That really impressed me because it is so easy to make bad rhymes like that sound really dumb, but they technically do rhyme. But you have a way of making it work so that the words that rhyme are actually there for a reason and not just to finish the rhyme and sound silly.
Yeah, not like a xylophone.
Yeah, exactly. No,
first of all, why are you rhyming xylophone? That's your first mistake. Pick easy words to rhyme.
Amateurs. Jeez. Also, it's really fun how like we each roll to decide what Murgic is going to do next.
Right.
Like, so I'm not like consciously contributing to what he's going to do, but I kind of am because I get to spin the wheel of fate or whatever.
Yeah.
How do you feel about playing Jeff?
Jeff has gone on a roller coaster because he started off as this guy that couldn't speak, which at first I thought, okay, that's weird, and then I'm like, oh, that's a fun challenge to do with an audio medium, and then I thought, that's like, it's not going to work very well.
Well, for a while we just described what he did and like how he acted,
but then I thought it was funnier that he could speak, and then we just used the voice that we made him as a joke, and then I thought that was a funny voice, and then he turned into a sleaze.
He really did.
And then I was like, well, gotta lean in hard on the sleaze, which is what I tend to do once I find out a character's anyway racist or sexist.
Right.
I was like, they're now the worst.
Right. I don't think there are many people in Knight's Quest that have like non-character defining qualities. Like if they have some sort of chink in their armor, or
that's them.
If
they are the chink. Yeah.
Whatever.
That's their style.
Yes.
Oh my God.
Whatever weird thing is about them, that is their thing.
Right. Which. Yeah, you could look back and be like, what's the difference between Wallace and Honestly Ajax? Is Wallace goes style, and Honestly Ajax goes, hello, fellow travelers. That's the difference. That's it. That's how I get into the character.
Might even be related.
Might be the same person.
Oh, shit. Whoa.
Oh, I will say it has been, like, especially for the Sun Festival, I got so much joy out of all of the people that we created.
Yeah,
that was magical.
That was so much fun.
Shit was my guy.
Rest in peace.
Rip Shit. But also, what was the archer?
Oh, Morgana?
Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
Yeah. Basically, the characters we have the most fun with are the ones you can tell by listening because we'll be dying as the character.
Right, and they'll usually last for more than an episode. Yeah. Like if there's a really good character, like Ulrich, I had to drag Ulrich back.
Yeah. And like if you remember it,
Reginald and Rory. I mean, come on.
Yes.
I mean, come on.
Reginald and Rory, Stingo and Rar. Yeah. I gotta say that, also when the people at the table forget the jokes, like
100%.
Yeah, because like there was the whole bit where like Reginald and Rory, or Jonathan as
the reckless
recluse had told them he wanted to hear their life story.
And then Reckless Recluse is locked in the prison cell with them, and he started telling their story, and I forgot that's what was going to happen, and then they start going, and I'm like, oh no.
Yeah, that was really fun.
Yeah, good moments. Well, that's one question. So thank you, Kelly, for that question. Good stuff. The next one is going to be from Neil. Thank you, Neil.
Yeah.
If Rainer didn't win the Sun Festival, who would have?
Oh boy.
I mean, if Shit didn't like bite it, I would say he was a crowd favorite, like a Ripley's Believe It or Not kind of dark horse.
Definitely.
I don't know. I had my heart set on Morgana.
I thought Morgana was going to win because we really were rolling. I think I've said this before, but like Rainer just had a bunch of buffs to the dice rolls, so like they were still dice rolls. I just had a lot of advantage.
Yeah, he totally could have still lost.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, Quiz definitely did.
Yeah. There was so much creativity to the Morgana performances.
Yeah.
And for that reason, I was like, I kind of want her to win. This is really impressive.
And then, what was the guy's name who juggled, like, weapons?
Oh, yeah.
Chadwick.
Chadwick, yes. Chadwick was pretty sweet. He
got out pretty second round.
He was very much like if you watch America's Got Talent or any of those shows where they do an act and then the judges are all like, okay, that's really cool, but how are you going to continue to evolve this act? You know, at a certain point,
I'm going to get all my stuff stolen.
That's how. No, but yeah, as Jamie said, we genuinely rolled those numbers, and Rainer actually did get the highest number. So Rainer got a 24 total. And then,
I suppose we can actually say who would have won.
Morgana got a 22 total. So she would have won if Rainer had not. Right. And that would have been a very different story.
I'm trying to remember how the Better Crew did. Did they have a decent roll?
No, not that last. That last one they got 17, so they were third, actually. Yeah, they were third. Garfunkel was fourth.
This drummer.
Jonathan, as Quiz, got fifth. And then Sheila got last, and he died.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So... Yeah, no, there's a lot of elements of the story that are... I mean, we roll dice, it's improvised, so we don't actually know what's going to happen.
It's very rare that we will... well, actually, no, it's not existent that we'll change the story to, like, further a plot point that the dice don't support. Like,
right.
If the dice roll, that's the law of the game.
Right.
Just like...
like, when Quiz got a 1 and a 0...
Yeah.
There's no like, well, can we make it better so we can win? No.
Yeah, can we edit that out? No. That's the game.
That's what it is.
That's
I mean, that's what makes us... I think that those are the best parts of the story is when the characters screw up. And that's something I've been trying to do better at is not letting you guys win everything.
Right. Because...
If you fail, you fail.
Okay, yeah.
Because, I mean, like, especially... I mean, going back to Quiz... Especially after he escaped from Costa Rica.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And he fought the Mistwalker. Mm-hmm. That was an awesome fight.
That was really cool.
And it was full of failures.
Pretty much.
Can
I go back for a second? When you mentioned Jonathan as Quiz, it made me think, like, if I have objective favorite characters... Number 1 is probably Jonathan, and number 2 through, like, whatever, is Jonathan as different people.
Jonathan as Noble Mincer is amazing.
I have been so happy with, like, me as an individual. I love doing voices, and so it's so much fun to be able to do Jonathan doing voices. Like... Jonathan as the Reckless Recluse was really fun.
It's not you impersonating the voice. It's you
Jonathan
being Jonathan being another person.
Right.
Yeah.
A voice that you made up doing a voice that you made up.
Right. And also, like, having the dice roll affect how good of an impersonation that is. But yeah, Jonathan as Noble Mincer was a phenomenal.
My Lord.
I'm going to segue after pointing to the next question from Josh Krantz. Do you three have backgrounds in theater or other things that made you good with ad-lib?
Yeah, I mean, so...
Answer's
yes.
Yeah. Because I think I'm the only one of the three of us who is, like, going to school for theater.
Correct.
Right.
But
which is why you got them primo voices.
Ooh.
But the three of us were always doing theater stuff.
Yeah, I think that's how we all met.
Yeah.
Yeah, was in See How They Run.
See How They Run.
Which was a play we wrote.
I just recently looked back at pictures of that, and God, I miss it.
Oh, that was the best.
Basically, for those of you who didn't see it, which probably many of you,
most people,
it was. I can't even describe the plot, but basically,
let me tell you.
You said the plot, Jake. What was the plot of this story, and what were our characters?
So in See How They Run, it follows the bishop's wife, who is being visited by her American friend, who is in the American military.
Right.
The bishop himself is not. Or you mean Lowell?
No, Josh was the American friend.
Yes.
Yeah.
Shout out to Lowell for being...
Yeah.
Right. The priest.
The only issue being, for her American military friend to be able to hang out with her, he can't be in uniform because he can't be seen off the American military base.
Right.
So he dresses up in the bishop's clothes because they're the only clothes in the house that fit him. Unbeknownst to the woman, her husband's father... I think.
Where were you?
I was like another bishop.
Just another bishop.
Some clergyman.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't remember why.
And I was also another clergyman.
Yes.
Yeah,
I forgot how I connected.
So more people start showing up at the house, and he is pretending to be the bishop. While this is all happening, I played a Russian escaped spy who also dresses up as the bishop and holds her captive. So then the actual bishop shows up, and there's about 5 of them running around the house wearing the same clothes, pretending to be each other. Run. It was so...
Yeah, it was
oh
a
my
farce.
gosh, it was fun.
Basically, who's the real bishop? Everyone's running around, everyone's getting spooked. fainting and gunpoint.
Awesome Russian accents.
Yeah, really just the one. I didn't know what the word farce literally meant until that, and then I was like, oh, I get it now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but Nathan and I, we've done improv.
Yeah, we were in an improv troupe together.
Yeah.
That was the reason I hesitated to say yes to the question, because I've done a bunch of theater stuff. I don't think any single one of it had anything to do with ad-lib. So, like...
But you're also, like, a creative writer, too, and I think that plays
you have an
into it.
artistic mind.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. Yeah. What I hope to say with that is that, like, this has been very new for me, and I'm trying to get better at it as we go.
Yeah.
Because I feel like, especially in a lot of those early episodes, I had no clue what I was doing.
Well, and it's funny you say that, because I've been talking with Josh, because he's been listening kind of as we've been going along, and so... He has even said that about the earlier episodes, that there are times where he just wants to hit you.
Oh, 100%.
But not in a negative way. But then,
like, come on!
Yeah.
Okay, yeah,
But then, like, as the story goes along, inability to make decisions and the going back and forth and the arguing with yourself gets more ingrained as a character trait and less about not being able to do the thing. So it gets more bearable as the show goes along, because it gets more nuanced, you know?
Okay, yeah. I was gonna make a joke about how that's a good excuse and I should use that, but the more you were talking, the more I was like, that actually does make sense, though.
Yeah. I mean, the more you do a thing, you know.
Right, exactly.
Our next question is kind of like, it's going to be a conglomeration of questions. So I'm going to read all of them and then I'll say the point. These were all sent in by Josh Krantz. He sent in most of them.
Hi, Josh.
He wanted to know, how did it end up being the three of us doing the podcast for Knight's Quest? Was the idea of Nathan as the writer in the original story of Knight's Quest? How did Nathan and Josiah, my friend, end up writing the original Knight's Quest back and forth? Was the writer and hero an main idea back in that story? So basically, I just want to... We should just do...
some context.
Just the history of Knight's Quest.
Now we will explore the history of Knight's Quest.
Alright, so I guess I'll start with the high school stuff and then you guys can cover after that. It started in sophomore year. Chemistry class. I'm sitting there with my buddy Josiah, who I've mentioned before, and we were bored in class because the teacher had to keep going over the same content because the other kids weren't paying attention, and we were, and so we kind of got it. And so we were bored, and Josiah had just been playing a bunch of like those text adventure games.
Like Zork.
Yeah. And so he wanted to do that in real life.
Been eaten by a Gru.
Right. And so he was playing that with a person sitting next to him, and they were playing back and forth, and he would like write it out and draw a box on paper, hand it to them, and then they would fill in the box with their answer. And I'm like, hey, I want to play too. He's like, okay. So we started off, it was super generic. I was Sir Nathaniel, and I went on a quest to kill a dragon. And it started off like I would just go like, turn left at the fork, or go to the forest. You know, super simple.
He all of these notebooks are like physical things.
Yeah,
that
so
we
like
have
how it
gone
worked
through.
is we were like writing on it, and
he would pass him one that says, what do you do next?
Yeah, so like he would pass me the actual like spiral notebook. I would write down, pass it next to him. Never got in trouble by the teacher. And this kept going on. Eventually my answers would get more elaborate, and so he would stop writing the box because it was too big, and there would be dialogue going back and forth. Pretty early on in the story, I realized we didn't really set out how you would win this game, but he would keep threatening me like, hey, you know what, at any point I could just make fire rain down from the sky. And I'm like, so the only way I could really be safe is if I was... We called it the Game Master at the time because it was more of a game. I'm like, if I become the Game Master, then that's how I win. So I found a genie lamp, wished to be the Game Master, and then it happened. And so
the roles swapped.
And so we swapped. I was Game Master, and then he became the hero. And that was kind of the inciting incident of that storyline. And we played for 2.5 years, covering 7 notebooks. We played over the summer. It determined, like, whenever a new class started, we would try to sit next to each other. And if we couldn't, we would throw the notebook across the classroom. Never got in trouble. Not once. Not a single time did the teacher say, hey, stop throwing the notebook.
How is that possible?
Because we were good. We didn't do it in front of, like, when the teacher turned around. And there was, like, one dude, we had to throw it over every time. There was one time he smacked it in the air because he was so annoyed of us, like, throwing it over his head.
Wow.
And so that was a lot of fun.
Very different school experiences.
So the story eventually, like, grew and grew in detail and complexity.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't remember how it...
So I'll segue here, but then I went to college. I still liked the story, and I wanted to refine it and perfect it because, you know, I wrote it in high school, so there were like a lot of really trashy, awful parts. But I still liked it. Was important to me. and I somehow started reading it to my roommate Xander. Shout out Xander. And then Jake wanted to hear it, and then Jamie.
That's right.
Jamie showed up one time and was hearing it too, and
and then I was like, well, shit, let's just start over. And at the time, like, I was really involved with a couple other theater friends trying to go through some voice acting avenues. And I thought, what better way to, like, work on, like, voice stuff?
Yeah.
If, like, Jamie listens to the story, Nathan reads as himself, and Josiah, and I encompass everybody else.
You filled in a lot of other characters.
Yeah.
What really threw me off about the first time we were reading through that is that I had missed the very first one.
Yeah, you missed the beginning.
Like, the first time I was hanging out with you guys, and all of a sudden these notebooks are popping up, it was like partway through the story was already going, and it was just kind of like, no, this is what we're doing. And I'm like, oh, we're not going to play a video game or something? Like, no, just bear with me here. And then we just kind of went for it.
Listen, Nathan's going to read a notebook, and I'm going to take it every 5 seconds.
No, it was such a weird thing to me at the beginning, but almost immediately I was like, this is so much fun. Even just hearing it and, like, giving random crappy feedback once in a while was so fun.
Yeah.
Because it was such a goofy, like, strange new way of writing a story I hadn't run into before.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so then when we had all finished with schooling, that was kind of what, we did. We kept reading these books back and forth, and it took a while.
Out loud.
Yeah, out loud.
Right.
In this space we are in right now, Jamie's space. And then as we were wrapping up the book, I forget who asked it.
I'm pretty sure, because I was definitely having some feelings of, like, we're out of college now, and there's fewer and fewer things, or fewer and fewer reasons to get together on a regular basis, and this is, like, enough of a scheduled thing that we still hang out. And so I think I asked, like, what's the next thing after, because, like, we're going to finish this last notebook in, like, a week, and I don't want this to stop. So,
right.
like, what's next?
Yeah, and then we somehow decided, well, how about we play Knight's Quest?
We do Knight's Quest.
We play Knight's Quest ourselves. And we're like, well, we can't write down a notebook. That'd be super lame.
Yeah.
And it would take forever.
It does take a long time to do the writing work. So then we thought, well, we'll just speak it. But one of the reasons I really like the written notebooks is you can go back to it.
Yeah.
So then we're like, well, let's just record it so we can have it,
for context.
For context and like remember what happened.
And then I was doing Pensword at the time, and I think that kind of triggered the thought of, like, well, we're recording it anyway.
Mm-hmm. And I was, like, sharing it with other people, like, on Google Docs, and it was just a hassle to, like, share it all the time. Like, you know what? It would be easier if we upload it so people who want to hear it can hear it.
Yeah.
And it'd be easier for us to access it. And so that's how it became a podcast.
It was like 9/10 of the way to a podcast already. We just hadn't pulled the final switch yet.
Right.
So,
and then a lot of the finer points of, like, the editing and the music, and more recently, more refined directions for characters.
Oh, definitely.
That has kind of evolved because of the medium that we chose to, like, because it is a podcast and because people are actually listening to this garbage. We are
just taking a drink of water.
But, like, because we actually have, like, people listening to this, we're taking more time and we're
definitely
do things differently because of it.
Yeah. But yeah, to summarize the idea too, the idea of Nathan as the writer in the original stories was partially true because, like, we would take turns, me and Josiah, we would switch roles back and forth every now and then. It only happened like a couple points. So yeah, that was an idea, and so that carried over. So I'll just move into the next thing that you were starting to talk about, which a couple asked about. Let's go into the music.
Yeah.
Josh Palmer asked, how do you write the songs? I love all the music and want more. Then Josh Krantz also asked, does Jamie do all the music? So Jamie, you want to answer that one?
I mean, yeah. Yes, I guess is the answer. That's also the reason there isn't any music until episode 5. It's also the reason that the theme song has such a random assortment of, like, weird noises, is because when I first started using GarageBand, and I still don't know why this is, it only let me use, like, half of the options, and all the other ones it would just say you don't have this yet. And I was like, I do, though. I have the program. I don't understand. And then a couple weeks later, they were mysteriously available. So the first thing I wrote was that theme song, and it took a really long time, and I was, like, very nervous about it.
Yeah, because we had a conversation when you were looking at it, like, like, how do I make my own music if I just have to keep using these pre-recorded loops? And I was like, oh no, you can totally put notes in there.
Yeah, no, I couldn't find it. I was messing around with this program. I was like, I swear there's a way to just write notes of music, and I can't find it. It was driving me crazy.
And I mean, Jamie has a music background, and he he plays, like, an assortment of instruments now.
Oh yeah.
Okay, I really play piano. That's about
and
it.
ocarina.
Oh my god.
And whatever sounds you can make come out of the piano.
Right.
So you can play electric guitar, really.
All of the instruments
of
you
course.
can do on
Yeah.
the piano, yeah.
That was super interesting because we got to, we had a bunch recorded already, especially early on in the seasons. We were like way ahead of when the episodes were getting posted. So by the time we got to episode 4 or 5, we already knew about all the Baz Al Ghul stuff. And like, I think maybe it was you, Nathan, who mentioned like, do you want to write some kind of backing track for the big scene with Baz Al Ghul? Like, that's a really important moment. And I was like, yeah, sure. And I started working on it, and I was like, this is really fun, though. What's the episode coming out, like, this next week? The fight with the Rock Boys? I want to write something for that, too. I want to write something for all of them.
Yeah,
and then I just threw into it, but, like, way more than I was actually ready for. I didn't do a great job of trying to handle that at first, and that's why there were so many... There have definitely been quite a few weeks where, like, the very last possible moment, like 3 a.m. the night before the episode goes up, like, I'm sending a bunch of shit to Nathan. Like, okay, this will go here, this will go here, this one you have to pause here and then fade it in here. Like, but it was super fun, and I'm really glad I got to do it, and I can't wait to do more for season 2. I just think that I need to be a little more careful with managing my time. So
and what's
that it
nice,
doesn't...
too, is you have, like, a stockpile of songs.
Right, exactly.
Because in the later ones, I don't know if you caught this, but we'll, like, reuse some of the songs because they work.
Or like if they're like Chubb's theme, like there's a song for a person or an event, like his Ajax, you know.
Throw it in there.
Chubb,
so
I don't know why Chubb has a theme. I think it's just because
does Chubb the dog have a different theme?
I don't know. He could.
Not yet.
Not yet. But like that was one of the very first ones because that was only in episode 5 or 6. So I was writing music for like every little thing that happened in that episode, and it kind of didn't make sense. Oh, perfect! Of course. But, like, those very early episodes had a lot of music that, if I was doing those again, there was probably a couple I wouldn't put in because they didn't, at the moment...
Stings.
I was just thinking of, like, I want to give each thing or person a theme. Mm-hmm. And I think that's okay, but you also want to be a little careful of, like, it shouldn't just happen for no reason, you know?
Right.
Like,
intentionality.
Right. But I think that's getting better, and that's also the reason the music has sort of like funneled in a little bit more. Like there's fewer of them, but they're more, I think, important. I think they're a little more. What is the word? That's
significant.
Yeah, but also
impactful,
deliberate. And that's the word I was trying to think
of.
Yeah, but yeah, it's just GarageBand. It's just cycling through a bunch of sounds until I find one that I think is correct, I guess.
I love the sound you use for PB singing.
Oh, cool.
I picked it up when on the Careless Whisper for 39. I'm like, wait, this is a song. I've heard this sound in like multiple songs.
Yeah.
Oh, this is PB.
Yeah.
This is PB singing.
Oh man, I'm glad. That was super fun. I was glad that I found something that I could sort of halfway, like, sure, this is what a magical bat sounds like. Why not? You know?
There's no wrong answer for that one. No
right, exactly.
Excuse me? That's not what a magic bat sounds like. I think legally, I should say this: the only songs that are in the episodes that Jamie did not do are in episode 3 before he was doing music, and I thought I should add some music. And also, this is before I thought we were going to make it a podcast.
I forgot about that.
The music played at that first concert, I believe one is from Elder Scrolls, one is from the Witcher series. I don't remember the third one. So,
well, I mean,
if you go back and it's not those, that means we changed them.
Well, no. The third one was, and I'm still amazed that you found this somewhere. The third one was an ocarina recording of the song Careless Whisper.
Oh, yeah, I googled that. It's on YouTube.
Of course it is. If it exists, the internet has it.
Yeah, that was fun to find.
There are a couple pieces of music that are me actually playing the ocarina, but they're very edited because I haven't put in a ton of time to actually getting good at it, so I'll play like 2 notes, then stop, then figure out what the next 2 notes are supposed to be, then play those, and then just edit the whole thing together so it sounds better. So it is me playing it for real, but it's not me sitting down and just playing
just busting
a
out
minute.
a tune.
Exactly. I think that's only happened a couple times, like the one where Raynor is playing the Lonely Thief song in the cavern. I actually thought that one turned out super cool, and I was so proud of it because up until that point, it had been really tough to make my recordings sound anywhere near as good as like the GarageBand stuff because it's like a little out of tune and it's a little tinny and like recording it on my computer, whatever.
Yeah.
But I think that's finally coming along and I hope to do it more. I wanted to do one for the very last episode, but I ran out of time again. I don't know. It's been a whole thing, but it's been such a cool learning experience and it's so much fun and I can't wait to do more. So thank you guys. Both Josh and Josh.
Next question is from Xander. What elements of the story were actually planned in the beginning?
Well, from how early?
I mean,
how early on?
Yeah.
I guess the earliest of ones. I guess that's probably I should answer that one.
Well, I mean, right away at the beginning, you definitely had a very specific plan of like, these are the things you're doing today, Rainer.
Right.
Well, not true. These are the things that I knew before we started recording.
Okay.
I knew Goldon was a town that had a gold mine in it. I knew we were in Glenwood, and I kind of knew like the history of that place.
Uh-huh.
I knew Jamie's character. I didn't know his name or what he was.
Okay.
Would have a best friend who worked at the mine. I knew that there would be a mine owner. There'd be a lord. That there would be a female character. That was it. I guess I knew Costa Rica and the Sun Festival existed. I knew Hidgety existed and had crime in it. I didn't think we would be going there. I knew that the Rider was a thing.
Right.
But like, were there any points at any stage in the beginning that you, Nathan, were like, I am leading the characters to this apex, like I'm leading these people.
I guess I did know that there was a demon in the mine. I did know that from the beginning.
That was going to be the thing I brought up because that's one of the only things I can think of right off the bat that happened to us instead of being a result of one of our decisions. I remember the moment where it was like, suddenly, this happens. And we were like, oh, this is new. This is very unexpected.
Realistically, like, we could have just left. Like, we didn't have to stay.
You could have gone anywhere at any time. You did not have to do the chores on the first day.
Yeah, that's true.
I didn't think you would do the chores on the first day.
Red leather, yellow leather.
Well, that goes back to me not knowing how to play this game and so meekly just, like, taking the instructions of, like, I guess this is what we're doing now.
Yeah. Oh, I need to get leather? Okay.
Yeah, apparently this is happening.
But yeah, Nobleminster, Quiz, Leroy, Murgic, the character, like pretty much the entire population
of most towns.
Taylor
and Tanner.
Tanner and Taylor and
Bathilda and Eloise, for Pete's sake.
Oh, definitely.
None of them I had any plans for. I didn't know they exist.
They didn't exist until the moment they existed.
Quiz existed because you said, can there be a convenience wizard? Leroy existed because you said, like, I have at least...
Leroy,
yeah. My friend... Oh, look, my friend Leroy. And so, like...
Then there was a Leroy.
Yeah. So, all of that, we came up in this... on the spot, improvised.
I think before we sat down and recorded for the first time, we were just kind of... We were doing a little bit of groundwork, and it was just like, I don't know, I think he's a bard. And it was like, oh yeah, sure, why not?
Yeah.
So like a couple minutes before the recording, we just decided on that, and then it became this huge important part of the story, all the music elements and stuff.
And that method has been our saving grace.
It has.
Of, is this a thing? It's a thing.
Oh, which leads me to another question that Josh Krantz asked, which I really like this one. Was keeping most jokes as canon a planned feature or a happy accident?
It's definitely a happy accident.
Right.
Because it was a joke in the beginning, but then, like, a lot of the stuff that we ended up joking about ended up being, like, so, like, endearing to the story.
Well, I think I'm pretty sure I said in episode 1
yes, you
that
did.
every joke we make is going to be real unless it breaks with the world that I've already said.
It destroys the universe.
Yeah. So every joke's going to be real. And
but
when we said Murgic, we're going to discover that later. We did. We did do that.
In a weird way, now that actually is a rule that we can go back to. Like, no, the joke has to be canon. We said that. It was such an example of weirdness and extremes, but now it's sort of transformed into, like, an actual thing we can measure stuff by and be like no, this is how it works.
Yeah, it's kind of like a law of this world that we've created.
I think there's a bit in like Who Framed Roger Rabbit where they're like, so cartoon characters can stretch and fly and whatever, like all the time whenever they want, and the character's like, no, only when it's funny. And like that's what I think of because that's how we justify of like, is that what happened?
Yes.
Well, like if it's canon, I mean, like,
That's canon now, bitch.
real quick, going back to the last question, I just want to throw on one extra thing before I forget. I think it's fair to say that, like, all of the big stuff we were talking about definitely wasn't planned, but, like, as the episodes go along, if something big happens in Hidgety and we're in Hidgety, then, like, of course, we're going to be thinking about what our characters will do next. So, like, there's a little bit planned.
Yeah, there's thinking in between episodes. Right. You know, we'll be like, okay, we left on this cliffhanger. Figure out what your character is going to do.
Right.
I have to figure out how I'm going to tie all these loose ends that Jake makes. Which I got to give credit. Jake is an expert at making loose ends. And I've noticed this. When Jake leaves a mystery, he doesn't know the answer.
I don't.
When Jamie leaves a cliffhanger mystery, he does know what the answer is.
That's because I've only done it like twice. It's been very specific to Rainer.
And my job is to tie them up and then leave two choices for Rainer to
Right, exactly.
I try really hard to tie up my own loose ends, but I don't like doing it because I don't like knowing the answer most times.
I can get that.
I like there being a mystery or an open door that we can go through later, but...
I can definitely also get that there's something quite as fun or exciting about finishing a thing as there is introducing a new thing. Of
because there's so many answers.
What are we?
Yeah. Like with the That's What I Said room, not knowing the answer, it could be anything. And then when you find out, you're like...
So difficult to actually bring that one to a close because we had no idea what was in there.
Right.
I mean, that's kind of what I had in mind the whole time.
And then we barely addressed it.
Right. Yeah, we'll have to go back. It's going to have to go back. Next question is from Neil, again.
Woo.
Thank you, Neil. Have any weapons been nerfed? Example, Reverse-O-Matic, Oopsie Bracer. Did you have any conversations in between sessions about not abusing specific items?
The one specifically, and this happened during an episode for Jonathan, was the Oopsie Bracer. Because we had to state, and for quizzes, rings as well, there has to be some sort of ramification for using this like game breaking tool of like, I messed up, I'll just do it again. I'll just do it again. And so like the nerf in essence was creating the DP or even the corruption points of like doing this thing over and over again is going to cost you.
Yeah, I think it first happened with the Reverse-O-Matic because you kept using it.
Right.
And I'm like, what's going to keep you from doing that? And I was like, you're tired. I kind of knew how magic worked, but I was like, I think we're going to have to do that now.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think the only actual... Because most of them we just kind of left the rules and we just added DP and stuff like that. The only one we actually changed how it physically worked was the Amulet of Chance.
Yeah.
And
twice. We did it twice. Because first we had to give it an upper and a lower boundary.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, okay, now I know what you're saying.
Because we had to add more than 20. And then we added like a secondary modifier to it as well with the coin.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and we did that within the story, which I think made sense and made it much more chancy. Which, it turned out it did. It did that.
It did do that.
But yeah, that was the only one I can vividly remember we like actually changed how the item worked.
We have had a lot of discussions about how stuff works. Like, we definitely had to sit down and be like, okay, what can't the Reverse-O-Matic do?
Right.
My favorite is the scythe that slows down time.
The Lazy River?
Because it's not the most confusing thing in the world, but it is confusing because we could not get on the same page of what exactly it did.
Neil also asked, what was the Time Stone Scythe supposed to accomplish? Like, what is it supposed to do?
Yeah. We could not get that nailed down.
Because then also,
we were so tripped up,
I also found a potential contradiction.
Oh, no.
Because when they are still in Hidgety and Jonathan goes back to prank Ulrich, he throws the Lazy River, and when it hits the bag of Pidgeotty feathers, Ulrich is in slow motion, and all of the feathers are falling in slow motion.
No.
So,
yes.
Like that...
No, that's correct.
Yeah.
It is?
Because what the Lazy River does is it just lets the user, aka Jonathan, react faster, so everything around him seems to be slowing down. But for everybody else, it's just normal time, and basically Jonathan's just in like bullet time.
So Jonathan looks like he's moving super fast.
Okay, so
Jonathan looks like he's moving really fast.
So in that scene where Ulrich is falling into the pile of Pidgeotty feathers in slow motion, that is Jonathan's perception.
Correct.
Right? Okay,
yeah.
I'm with it.
This is only the third or fourth time we've gone
apparently
over this.
we didn't actually know what it did until now, and still probably won't.
So thank you, Neil.
That's good. It's good.
Neil.
Also, have we talked about that table where we were like coming up with the item?
Oh yeah, how it was I think we mentioned it in the episode.
Because that was super cool.
But if you want to ask, like, why did I give him this thing, is we made, like, a random weapon generation
like a flow chart
that I hope we get to use again in the future, because there was some really cool ramifications
and
on that
we
one.
literally just sat down for like a half an
part
hour.
out.
Yeah, it's all gone.
Yeah, because you literally just said, and the next thing you guys are going to hear is this cool new weapon. Oh, right, Jonathan. You ready for your...
Right, yeah.
But we just sat down for like a good chunk of time, and we were just like, what is a list of effects that a weapon could do? What is a list of symbols? And elements.
Yeah, that was fun. Yeah. I think my favorite moments in the show are when we just create together. Like, when we were like, all right, let's create what the teams are going to be for Gorfball. Let's create performers for the Sun Festival.
That was so good, because we had stats for everybody. And the stats themselves became funny.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that made my day. What were we talking about? I completely lost track.
The next question.
Oh, okay.
Next question from Josh Palmer. Thank you, Josh. What have you learned from doing this podcast?
That's a very open-ended question.
Yeah,
I like it.
I'll just start with some easy ones. Obviously, I've learned a lot of editing skills, a lot about microphones, how to make podcasts. So I've learned that.
Oh yeah, I think if I go back in the texts with Jake and Nathan, I can find this. But there was definitely a time, like a bunch of episodes had already passed, and I was like, "You guys, I just figured out how to change the volume of notes on GarageBand," and I was so excited about it because I couldn't do that before. Yeah. So I was just learning random little logistics of music software.
I definitely have since doing this podcast. I'm far more intentional at listening to background tracks. I'm watching a movie or whatever.
No, me too.
And I noticed, they're not as loud as I thought. So if you listen to the first ones, I had the music very loud.
Yeah.
And then finally someone, I think it was Katie, shout out to you, told me, like, hey, people are listening for the words, so make sure they can hear what you guys are saying.
I need to keep that in mind too.
And so then I was like, oh yeah, I'll make the music quieter so you can actually hear us talking.
That's funny.
I think I need to keep that in mind because sometimes if I have too many loud moments in the music, then we have to bring the whole thing down.
Right.
So the quiet moments are just gone.
Yeah.
So I need to be more careful about keeping the levels similar.
Yeah, and keeping them like simple, because the background tracks, obviously, they all sound great. Don't get me wrong. There's definitely a couple where I'll just like listen to them at work. I'm like,
oh man, that's so cool.
But unless it's like when they're singing, they're supposed to be like very subtle. And
right.
For those of you Game of Thrones fans, I really love the Night King theme, because that one works better because no one talked in that scene, so you really only did listen to the music, and we can't do that because it's an audio medium.
Right.
And
it's
so
all
otherwise
talking.
You wouldn't know what's happening. But it was really cool because I can now re-listen to that music, and I know what's happening in the scene because of the music. And so that's something I think we're getting close to. Yeah, what else have we learned?
I mean, one of the things that's been kind of a growth just in my ability to do character work is keeping characters straight and separate, and keeping characters like separate from each other and unique in their own ways, and keeping them interesting, but also within that, the ability to make decisions that are honest to the characters and not just honest to what I, Jake, want to happen.
Okay.
Because there's definitely been times where, like, me, Jake, has known something, or I want something to happen, but would Jonathan do that? Or would Jonathan know that? Or would Katrina try that? Or does Quist care? You know, like, it's one of those things of, like, having to kind of live in the characters when things are happening, which is kind of difficult at times because there's definitely characters that I play that don't do things the way that I would do things.
Okay.
Which is tough.
I hadn't really thought about it from that angle.
Well, because, I mean, you are Raynor.
Yeah, that's true. a little bit of a different situation.
I think for me, I've definitely learned a lot about storytelling, and I've always loved telling stories, but this has been a really good exercise of having to tell these stories and take the world that I've already made, but mixing that with what you guys are doing, the world we're building, and leaving it open enough that you guys can still do things, and I'm not just like, this is what has to be done, because those are I think the worst parts. If I ever say like, this is what we have to do, the best parts are, as we've said, when we just make up new stuff and we play with it.
Yeah, roll the dice, see what happens.
So then learning how to do that, but then also satisfyingly tie that up in a way that makes sense, make it seem like we planned it. Make it seem like, oh yeah. That sounds like a great way to resolve that piece of the story, and also still keep it suspenseful. So I've been learning. It's been good practice for me to tell stories.
Yeah, and I would say on that same line, this whole process, I mean, when looking at Knight's Quest proper, that way of telling stories where two people are telling the same story is really bizarre, and that's kind of what we're doing with Knight's Quest.
We got three people telling the story.
Right, because any one of us can change the direction of the story. And so it's been really difficult, but also it's gotten easier of finding ways to add new things, change directions, change characters or add characters without breaking the flow of the overarching story.
As I've said this before, I love coming to meet to record because I myself do not know what's going to happen. None of us do. None of us know what's going to happen.
It's absolutely true.
We'll leave sometimes, like I'll leave a recording feeling like I just watched a TV show going, oh, I can't wait until next time to see what happens.
Exactly, yeah.
If you guys could hear all of the cut audio that we get rid of, I'm willing to bet like a good 80% of it would just be me going like, what? Fucking Cerberus? What? Like over and over, just completely thrown.
Chimera.
Oh, a Chimera. Yeah, not a Cerberus. Oh my god.
Next question. Two people have kind of sent in a similar one. So Jared sent in, have you thought about adding more people to the game or having guest people come on to voice characters to show up every once in a while? And then Josh Krantz also asked, would you ever have guests on?
I've thought about that before, and it's really tough because if A, they don't listen to the show, or B, they don't care as much, and that's not necessarily what I want, but like if they aren't invested in their own character as much as we are in the story that we're telling, it's really tough to bring somebody completely fresh in on and throw them into
right, like as we just said, like we, the three of us, just kind of figured out how we work together.
Yeah.
Like the vibe of us telling the story. And so to implement a fourth voice into that, would interrupt. Because it would be different.
That's new creative energy. That's a whole different character. That now, like, where do they fit? How important are they to what? Like, it wouldn't be bad. It would just be really.
It would be
tough.
a hiccup. Yeah, we'd have to learn really quick.
And I guess I wasn't even thinking about that. I was just kind of taking it for granted that, like, of course we have already gone through the entire story, and it's possible that someone else, if they wanted to jump on, has not listened to every single minute of the hours and hours and hours.
And that, as we've mentioned before, we're usually a couple episodes ahead of what we actually released. So if we wanted to record an episode mid-season with a guest, they wouldn't know those episodes beforehand because unless I sent them all the unedited stuff,
right? So they
would have homework, yeah,
or their character. The episode that we have a guest on would have to be like a one-off, side thing.
I think, honestly, the only way I could ever see this actually working would be a one-shot episode where maybe...
Oh, but that would be so fun.
That would be fun. I think that would work.
If we did little, side quests, that'd be... I could see that happening, because we definitely do have friends that are in the same vein of,
improv
very quick...
theater.
Oh, they'd be incredible, yeah.
A lot of them listen to the show. You know who you are.
Yeah. So, it definitely sounds like it would be fun. It would just be an undertaking to work and make it good.
Yeah. We could do it, but it would have to be... I think it'd have to be a separate...
Because then we'd also have to be happy with it.
Yeah, right. A separate sideline thing. We've mentioned this before, but Jamie, you've expressed interest in being the quote-unquote writer.
I don't have, I don't have a specific time frame of when I want this to get done, but, every couple of days or whatever, I just have another thought of, a thing that could happen. And I write it down quick, so I have them all in this little document. And I think it would be super cool. Again, I've said this before, I have no idea if it would work, but I really want to try it. And if we're okay with that, I would definitely buckle down to, actually writing out a lot more. I haven't gotten to that quite yet, but...
That's what this break is for,
That's
Let
true,
us do stuff like that. So.
Would this be an alright time to talk about other projects?
Yeah, that was another question I wanted to make sure we asked, but what is the future of Knight's Quest going to look like during this break, and when are people can expect us back?
This is just one thing for me. I've been working on it on and off for a while, but now that we're finally done recording season 1, I've had a lot more time.
And you don't have to make more music all the time.
Exactly. It's just a goofy little short, 1 minute long animatic of Quiz having a conversation with Mirjik, and I'm almost done with it. I have the draft 1 finished, but I'm messing with the lighting on each of the different slides because this way it won't look so janky. And I'm hoping that'll be done soon. I don't know where to put it though.
Well, because you can upload it on YouTube, and then I can share the link on Facebook and Instagram.
Yeah, I guess that makes the most sense.
I'll follow those.
Yeah, so That's not ready quite yet. It probably won't be ready even by the time this nighttime goes up.
Yeah.
But we will keep you guys posted on that.
Follow the Facebook, follow the Instagram.
Yeah. And
It's
hopefully
Dark
it's
West.
funny. It's basically going to be... Well, no, I can't say it's the first piece of fan weirdness because we already have some people who've done fan art and stuff.
Which,
Right.
honestly, for all of you who've done fan art,
It's so
Kelly
cool.
and Josh, and
I love it so much.
I just, every time I see it, you can really see
Yeah.
the attention to detail put into them and the heart and the love behind that. And I don't know, it's just really cool for me. I've said this before, but it genuinely does make my day whenever I see stuff like that.
Yeah.
So. But yeah, other projects that we might have come up again, we might do that one-shot thing.
Yeah.
Obviously, a lot of people like the music, Jamie. Is there a way that they
shit.
might be able to hear it?
Oh boy, not yet. So what we're hoping to do, and I have set a few things in motion, but in a lot of other ways I haven't gotten to it yet, and I really need to. I want to put the music into digital albums.
Yeah, that'd be super cool.
Oh my god, I would
Like
love
throw it up on iTunes, Spotify.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
SoundCloud, something like that, yeah.
Yeah, I know Bandcamp is a really good one that a lot of brand new people use.
Yeah, we'll probably use that one.
I am in contact with the wonderful Katie, who I asked her about cover art because she mentioned that she could do something for that.
Yeah,
And
I've seen the one for the first one. And it looks dope.
It was so cool. I haven't really moved forward on that project yet, but I really want to. Like, there's a lot of music we could put up there. I would need to edit a few of them so it isn't like 10 seconds of music and then 3 minutes of silence and then another couple seconds.
Right.
Because that's how some of the files are now. So I'd have to mess with them, tinker around a little bit.
Yeah.
But it's feasible. But yeah, look for more info on that. I don't know the ins and outs of how this works, but we're going to learn more
I have no
about
idea
it.
how long
so-
it'll take, yeah. But
Yeah.
again, when it's out, we'll let you know. So follow on them socials.
The only ones that I don't think will be able to are any arrangement of Careless Whisper or I'm Blue Dabba Dee by Eiffel65.
That's true, there is one.
There are a couple actually that
You
are
did a couple like that?
yeah, but they're very different and weird, so you probably didn't even catch it because I probably made it a little too abstract and strange.
Well,
but,
then I think we can do it.
You think maybe?
If I didn't pick, if you can't tell that it's the original song.
I'm very unclear on how that works.
Well,
Because
look it up.
if it's a cover,
We'll look it up.
yeah.
If you put enough of your own creative license into it, if it is enough of your own work, then it's not stealing.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh,
We'll
and
figure it out.
the only other one is there's an episode where I made the scene transition music "Work Bitch" by Britney
Oh,
Spears.
yeah.
I thought it was funny, so so that was worth it to me.
All right, next question. We'll do some quick ones here.
Yeah.
Both from Josh Krantz. How many episodes get recorded in a sitting? One or two?
One or two.
Yeah.
One or two. Who edits the show? I edit it.
I do.
Get the fuck.
Which is why I've never heard any of them.
I edit the show. Jamie does the music. He sends them back to me. I add them in there. I level them, and
Right.
then I upload it. Here's one that could be quick or long. What do you guys do in real life? Like jobs, hobbies,
God.
etc.
I work.
I mean, it's not half as interesting as Knight's Quest. I'll tell you that.
Yeah,
much.
we'll keep it short. I work at a church. I work with the kids in the youth department, so I basically just get to hang out with the next generation and that's a lot of fun. Have a lot of fun with that.
Yeah. I work at a pizza restaurant. That's about it. I kind of like where I am right now because it gives me like
Free pizza.
Sure.
Free
yeah.
pizza.
What I was
I
gonna
also
say.
get free pizza at my job.
My job is the only one where I do
Yeah.
not get free pizza.
Oh no.
Wrong career choice.
Obviously.
What I was gonna say was because it's not a super labor intensive job and it's not this super high powered career thing, I actually have a decent amount of time to like work on personal stuff and
Yeah.
art projects and hobbies, and like that's been awesome because for the first time I finally have time to actually try to work on some art stuff, and that's actually been going super well. So the music for Knight's Quest, that's the best example of that, because if I was trying super hard to break into some other career right now, I don't think I would have time, you know?
Right.
Because like with this, no shade to pizzas, but it's just pizzas. Like
Right.
it's not the most difficult thing in the world. So.
Right.
Jake?
I'm an assistant store manager for a shoe store. I sell shoes. That's my job.
You used to sell glasses.
I did. I used to sell glasses.
And
now I sell
skateboards.
shoes. Yeah, it's warts. Yeah, I don't know. I do retail. Retail's my thing, I guess.
There you go.
Sales. But
a baller.
when I'm not selling stuff, I'm hanging out with my bouncing baby boy.
Mm-hmm.
And then besides Knight's Quest.
There's also Pen Sword.
Yeah, I do Pen Sword.
You are running so many things right now.
I've got my fingers in a lot of pies.
Yeah.
But they're all very tasty pies.
Tasty pies.
But yeah, so I mean, I do Pen Sword, I do Knight's Quest, I do family stuff, I do work, and then randomly we'll get together with people and do like, oh my gosh, I just got into this tabletop board game with miniatures called Infinity.
Okay.
And it's amazing. And I want to play it so bad, but I don't have money to pay for pieces. So thank you, Robbie, for letting me use your army that you don't want anymore.
Does Robbie listen?
I don't know.
Hey,
you better.
Robbie. I don't actually know who this is, but Robbie.
A lot of people listening probably don't know who Robbie is either. Yeah, I play a lot of D&D. I DM 2 campaigns right now. They're great. Jamie's in one of them.
I just want to say, Jake is currently wearing a hat that has nothing on it except the tiny words "Dad Life," and it's my favorite thing.
I literally,
it's so good.
I found this at Target 2 weeks after Father's Day, and it was on sale. And it was like a week or two after Lindsay and I found out we were going to have a kid.
Oh, okay.
That's a good investment.
Yeah, and so up until then, it hadn't quite landed. Like the other shoe hadn't. Man. I didn't it didn't feel real.
Yeah.
And then as I'm standing there in the sales section at Target looking at this hat, I'm like, holy crap, I'm going to have a kid. But yeah, that's one of my favorite hats. Anyway.
Next question. Both halves of this are again from Josh Krantz. Thank you, Josh. Does knowing people are listening affect how you play? / have you gotten any guff from people because of the swears and sense of humor?
Yes and no. There's definitely people that I know that don't give 2 shits about this podcast because it is a D&D style tabletop role-playing type thing. Yeah. Like, I've definitely tried to talk to people about it, and there's like 0 interest because it is like a fantasy role-play thing, which is whatever. There's definitely people I don't show this to because of the swearing, like my parents, because... I just don't think they care to listen to it, which is whatever. I don't think that I've ever had anybody, like, come at me about it.
Right. I don't think I'm, like, careful to change what I would or wouldn't say. The only time it does affect me is, like, some of those moments we've already talked about where I was really getting frozen up. Like, I had no idea what to do, and I was really worried about that. At that moment, there will be a little bit of, like, people are listening, I need to be better so I don't let them down. And, like, that's not on them at all. That's on me, because that's my own weird mental neuroses. But I don't think, other than that, I would ever really take into account, because I think if you did, that would immediately change it, you know? And that's not fair.
You know what, actually, spinning off of that, not necessarily having, like, the fact that people listening doesn't necessarily change what myself and my characters do, but it definitely makes me want to make it sound better.
Right, I agree.
Yeah,
I was about to say that.
I definitely want to take more time and be more deliberate about the way that things are being described or the events that are happening. Like, oh my gosh, the Blades. Love that segment. And a lot of that description was kind of like built up from the thought of like people are going to be listening to this and this is a big deal, you know.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think the only way it changes me is I go, wow, people are spending their time to listen to this. I should make it actually worth it.
Right.
Yeah.
And 2, keeping out inside jokes that aren't a part of the show.
Right.
So, like, obviously the 3 of us have jokes that are not a part of this podcast.
And one of them is just that I yelled dicks.
Yeah. He yells
That's
dicks
never made it into the episode.
To start off every recording.
Sad.
And I cut it out every time.
Every time. And like to everybody listening, it's going to be such a surprise because every time.
That's why we start off laughing sometimes. But yeah, I try to make it so that way the only jokes I use are ones that you guys would be following. Because if it was just the 3 of us, then we'd be referencing a bunch of other stuff you guys don't know. So it affects me that way, but no, it doesn't make me hold back.
Right.
As far as the swearing thing goes, it makes it tough for me to share it with certain people. Like, whenever my family will be like, so what'd you do this week? I'm like, oh, I recorded for my podcast. And they're like, what podcast? I'm like,
well, about that.
Or I can't talk about it really at work because I work at a church.
To quote John Mulaney, not unless everybody's cool, or not unless everybody can get cool with a lot of stuff really fast.
Right. Like, I don't think like swearing is a sin or anything like that, but I do get it upsets some people, it bothers people, and so I'll try to be respectful of that, obviously, in my daily life. And I think that's how most people are.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to be telling the parents of my church their 8th grade kids or 6th grade kids, hey, check out my podcast where I say fuck.
Check out my sick mixtape.
It's fire.
Right. So
yeah,
I do have one student, but he's older. he's a senior now, and he kind of found out through backdoor means about my podcast. And I'm like,
wow.
I like prefaced it. I'm like, okay, just so you know, I do swear. He's like, yeah, I don't care. I'm like, okay, great. So you know who you are. Thanks for not judging me.
It makes it sound like he hacked your like
Yeah,
like home
I'm
computer.
so intrigued now.
Like he was in a taxi in
Well,
New
he,
York.
like, he
and,
sent me a text.
remotely accessed.
He sent me a text like, so I heard from little birdie that you have a podcast. And I'm like, oh, no.
Who told you that?
Was it Twitter?
It wasn't. You can't find it on Twitter. We're not on Twitter. Maybe we should be.
I'm gonna make a post on Twitter.
So yeah, that's that. Next question.
Oh my god.
This is from Josh Palmer.
Thank you.
What moments did you want to have happen that never did?
Oh boy.
Take it away, Nathan.
Do you already have something?
No,
particular?
I don't know how you say
okay.
it like that.
Oh, then I can go.
You go. But there are some.
There's just I would say the first thing I want to throw out is a couple of moments that just get edited out because they don't have anything to do with the story. But to me, they were super funny. The two that immediately come to mind were the Baz al Ghul episode. Jonathan said, "Hey you, what's your name?" And I was already laughing because I was not expecting that. Like we were hiding, and he was just like, "What's your name?" So I'm already laughing, and Nathan looks at both of us and he takes a deep breath and he says, Tony! And I fucking died. It was the best. But we had to cut it out because he didn't really say that, you know?
Yeah.
It's a
an
reference
inside
to
joke,
an inside joke.
Wait, it is?
Yeah. So it was a reference to a YouTube video, an inside joke. So as we just said,
Yeah.
I cut that out because
Oh my God.
not everyone thought it was funny.
Yeah.
You said there was another scene too?
Yeah, that, and then the only other thing that comes to mind is, like, the couple times where I had a plan for Raynor to do something and it just didn't pan out that way. I guess, like... I mean, the first thing that comes to mind is probably the ring thing, where I briefly had this whole plan, and you guys already know about this because I talked about it in the episode, where Raynor was going to, like, steal Quist's ring and replace it with a fake one, and I had plans of how that was going to go, but it very quickly fell apart, and what we went with instead was, honestly, way more interesting, so that was fine, honestly.
Yeah, I don't know if there's been anything that I really wanted to happen, but there's definitely been, like... I always try to plan for as many scenarios as I can, and there's scenarios that I planned that didn't happen and that I thought could be cool. Like, obviously, in that same time when we were back in Goldon and Mirajik told Raynor, you have to do something or else.
Right.
These two options. I knew what those two options were going to be, and so part of me was really excited to do them because they just would have been nasty.
Yeah.
But... we didn't do that. They didn't happen.
You guys also missed about a good 20 minutes of me not understanding the parameters of this ultimatum. Because, like, I did not get it through my head that he was saying, if you don't do something interesting, one of two bad things will happen. I was so confused because I thought there were, like, 3 different choices, and I thought he was asking me which one I wanted to happen, and I was, like, so thrown off, and then finally we got the hang of it.
Yeah.
And I was like... A lot of that happens a lot with Raynor's character.
It's tough for me because, like it's been stated a few times, I just kind of create loose ends. I don't ever really plan out for the future. There's been a couple of times where I've wanted something to happen, and it's either like the constraints are too much, like Jonathan's purple armor. Like there just wasn't enough time for Jonathan to get the full set of purple armor.
Why were we doing that?
Why not?
Like, I don't remember.
Just because.
Just
Okay.
cause.
Sure.
There was... I don't remember when, but there was definitely a time where, like, I wanted something specific for Katrina, and it didn't happen that way because why would it? But, I mean, because of the nature of how, like, my characters work, there isn't ever a time where I'm like, and then this happens.
Yep.
But it doesn't, you know? Like very rarely does that happen because why not, you know?
Yeah, I think the only one I can think of now, I'm going back, is when we first went to the Coin Rats. I created...
That was the other one. Thank you for... I did have a morbid...
That's fine, interrupt me, that's fine.
But I had a really morbid interest in Jonathan fulfilling his idea to like take over the Coin Rats and enslave Goldon.
Yeah.
That was the only other one that I can think of. But
I had created the eagle with in my brain. I'm like, this is going to be perfect to help Katrina find her mom. And so when they got there, I'm like, Katrina's going to go straight to the eagle and ask her where her mom is. And she's like, I want to find my money. And I'm like, what?
She also was very drunk.
What do you mean you want to find your money?
Really funny.
And then I created this thing that ended up like being a problem I had to deal with later. I'm like, oh shit, the eagle knows
everything.
But then that became a really cool thing with how Murgic dealt with that, and so I thought there were a lot of different how that built up.
And the Eagle did inevitably lead Katrina on a
yeah,
path.
Yeah.
I genuinely enjoyed playing the Eagle. I do wish I would have done a couple things differently with the Eagle, but like voice-wise, I wish I would have picked a different voice for it because it didn't super convey anything really about the character. Yeah, the Eagle was a really weird plot device for
Definitely.
everybody.
Yeah, then we had to be like, oh no, but there's the Eagle.
I really liked how the fight with her went because I think it really conveyed you could die. I think it very much, like, it didn't get super goofy. It didn't get... I kind of liked that Raynor just ran away at first because he knew, like, this is not happening right now, just me. Absolutely not. I'm not someone who's good at fighting or trained or anything. We have had
2 fights.
Yeah.
Rock Boys,
Eagle, Eagle, Reginald, Rory.
Yeah.
And then maybe you could count with Jonathan and Gorg that one time.
Oh yeah, the boots.
Yeah,
but that's it. No, Quiz and
Quiz and the Burn Shards.
No, I was gonna say Quiz and.
Well, you're both right. The Mistwalker.
Yeah. Wait, so maybe there's been more fights.
There's been a couple, yeah.
But I'm glad that they aren't happening constantly because I think that gives them more weight.
Yeah, and that's not our show. That's how life works. You're not just going from fight to fight.
And like with the dice, people could die in fights.
Yeah.
People do die in fights. Like we need to be careful about that.
With our first fight with the Rock Boys is when I realized this is not like other RPG games where you're like, we fight. We just fight stuff and we kill stuff. In this one, it's like, we're fighting things that could be humans. I don't know about that. And I'm like, in my brain, I'm like, they're not. Just kill them. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah, and then Jonathan's like, there are monsters down here. Pull me up.
Yeah,
and I'm like,
that was so
we're gonna
good.
fight. I'm giving you weapons. What are we gonna do?
Because you described it in such a creepy way. I don't know if you were doing this on purpose, but you very much described it like something unknown, something horror movie, something there's like little lights glinting in the distance and suddenly you see these rocks moving and Jonathan was just like nope, not dealing with this, get me out of here. And that was so great because it set the tone of like we're maybe not going to be the bravest characters in the world, but we're going to be like rational thinking people who can get scared sometimes, and like that worked so well.
That reminds me of one more question that Neil sent in just today, so thanks, Neil. It was for me. He said, for Nathan, what decisions made by Jake or Jamie annoyed you the most or derailed your plans the most? And I think we've kind of already talked about that with the previous question. No. But I think as far as derailed goes, I never really have had many straightforward plans. But when we were going into the mine, which is what I think the first time I was like, you're going in the mine.
This is what we're doing. This is what we're doing.
And you guys were like, well, hold on. Let's get a whole crew. Let's get some support ropes. Can we get headlights?
Do we have food and water?
Do we have to go now? Can we go tomorrow? Rest up and plan? And I'm like, in my brain, I'm like, we're doing a dungeon crawl.
Yeah, this is the next quest marker on your map.
Yeah, like go into it.
Go towards it.
And you guys were in there, you're like, oh, let's be careful. Let's be cautious. Yeah. Hey, send this guy ahead. We can just leave the mine at any time, right? And I'm like, I guess. And so it made me realize this isn't like D&D campaigns. This is us playing rational characters doing what actual people or these people
it's like the path set out for the Dragonborn, but like his buddy Steve is just doing it.
He's like, hey, whoa, I'm not just gonna kill people.
Let's think about this.
Hey, we don't need to just kill everyone. Come on, let's chill. Come on. This is nasty. Yeah. And so then from then on I've realized that, and two, you guys being more questioning, like, hey, whoa, there's rock monsters, why are they here? And I had to be like, they can't just be monsters? What do you mean? Right. They have a reason why they're here. So I had to figure that out. I'd be like,
I think somebody asked, like, are monsters a thing that we like? Do we encounter beasts and monsters on a daily basis, or is this weird?
And I want to make it clear, I was not coming at this from the perspective of like, I'm going to subvert fantasy tropes. I was literally just thinking, like, what would I do?
Right.
I don't know. Yeah. I'd probably get scared.
Any cool things we did wasn't... Don't give us credit for it. Don't give us credit.
It was an accident.
Don't give us credit. Right. We're stupid. We don't know what we're doing.
Oh, my God. And, like, on a practical level, the other reason I want to be careful with stuff like that is because I really, really don't want Raynor to die. Because I put a lot of time and thought into this character. And, like, I'm going to be very disappointed if he literally dies and I have to figure out how to keep playing without that character. Like,
which leads me to a question I wanted to ask you guys is, at what point in the story did you feel like you knew who your character was? Like you could say like, oh, I know who Jonathan is, or has that still to happen?
Oh my goodness.
I don't know who any of my characters are because Jonathan's backstory is continuously forgotten and overwritten.
Yep.
Katrina still has so much left unknown.
But not like the story, but like who they are as like a person.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, Jonathan, I've got pretty down pat. Katrina's still growing. Just fuck Quiz, I guess. And like a lot of the side characters that I play are pretty well grounded because they don't have much to them. Mm-hmm. So
just like the one thing about them,
right? Yeah, I mean once they fulfill their purpose and they do that. Yeah, I would say Quiz. And then Katrina is still going, and I feel like the one who I'm the most comfortable in their skin is probably Jonathan.
Mm-hmm. And I think with Quest that makes perfect sense because we've got a character who literally his motivations were rewritten like with a pencil.
Yeah.
So like it makes perfect sense that it's very, very difficult to get a read on who he actually is and what he wants. Because that was changed by outside forces, which is something that doesn't happen to real people.
Right.
Like, this is super weird territory. With Raynor, I don't think I got it for a long time. And even now, I feel like I'm just starting to understand what's going on. Because for a long time, I was looking at it through a lens of figuring out what Raynor would do is a problem that I have to fix. Like, it's a flaw that I have to get better at. And I wasn't thinking of it in terms of what's he gonna do? Like, what's he thinking about? What does he want? Instead of those things, I was just worrying a lot.
Yeah.
because I was having such a tough time with how the game works. You guys know that.
Yeah.
And I wanted to make it as good as possible. So for a while, that was keeping it from growing. That was keeping it from becoming a real character, I think, certainly. Now that he's had all of this stuff happen, and we've gotten to the point of, like, Mirjit giving him that ultimatum, and Raynor himself feeling like a lot of the things he has done and he has chosen have led to this other craziness happening, and now he feels like he has to take responsibility for some of that, especially with Bathilda. I feel like he's finally... Well, because he literally just stood there and said, okay.
Yeah.
And I think that's going to weigh on him a lot, especially during this upcoming quest. So I think some of those things have finally settled it in for me, at least, of like, I think I sort of get it now.
And I think for myself, Salazar, I always kind of knew his shit from day one. Leroy, I think it took me a couple episodes to really hone in, like, what his level of craziness was.
Yeah.
There's been a moment where I'm like, okay, yeah, that was a little too stupid. He's not that stupid.
Yeah.
But I
But he
also
didn't forget his memory, so I feel like that's...
I also liked the retcon of when we were like, Leroy, come on. You knew the answer to that one, and he was like, maybe I did.
That was me in real life going, nah, that was too stupid.
But it worked in the story because I love the idea of him, like, dialing it back a little bit, like, yeah, all right.
And then most characters, I have to figure it out along with that.
Like, what about Grorg?
Grorg's kind of a journey, because he started off as you bump into someone to, let's have it be the same one. And then I brought him back the third time with Jonathan, like, this will be a cool confrontation. And then the amulet happened, and that totally rewrote who he was.
Right.
And now I kind of like where he is.
Yeah.
All right, I've got 3 more questions for us. 2 of them are ones that we have to say every nighttime, otherwise it's not a real nighttime episode.
Oh my goodness.
Which are, what do you want to happen next? And what do you think will happen next? And audience, again, feel free to let us know what you think will happen next and what you will want to happen next, because it hasn't happened yet.
Right.
Right. Even by the time this nighttime goes up, we probably won't have gotten terribly far.
Anything yet,
yeah. We know the bare bones of what's happening. We know we're going to Tarif. Almost
Probably.
Suddenly, a storm whirls above your head.
Which did happen in Knight's Quest proper.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
They went from Glenwood to Tarif, and Sir Nathaniel just got thrown off the ship by sheer, like, just because, and it was so fucking annoying. And I call that...
And then there was the traveling island.
Yeah, it was a traveling
That was
curse.
so irritating.
Dude. I forgot about
Anyway,
that.
back to this.
We are not going to come upon a cursed island. I am making that statement right now.
I'll say it and you'll be like, no.
No.
That's a little too The Odyssey for my tastes. Yeah.
What do you want to happen?
Because Raynor is like the biggest way I look at this story and this experience, that's pretty much the only way I think about it. So I guess what I want to happen is I want adventures in Tarif, but I also want them to be focused to Quiz, because that's the point right now. So at least for Raynor, I think it would be delightful and wonderful if other people got up to other shenanigans, but I think at least for Raynor, I want to try to keep my part of the story focused. I don't know if that'll work. I don't even know if that's the best idea, but that's kind of how I want this to go, because I don't want him to be worrying all the time, and I don't want him to be stammering over, what do I do? Because I think we finally got to a point where it makes sense for him to have that focus.
Yeah. He is the hero now.
Yeah.
Jake,
I
what do you want?
would love for Katrina to do more stuff with the blades.
That was so cool. I'm losing my mind wondering whose name is written on that contract. I'm freaking out.
All three of us are.
Okay. I thought maybe that was something you guys had already decided.
No idea. No idea.
Never mind then. All right.
I have no idea who's going to die.
I'm excited to go to Tariv. I am very excited to do more with Quiz. And
Yes.
I think you mean
Conquest.
Yes.
What do I want? I want him to become more and more powerful and more of a problem for everybody else. I want Jonathan to be more.
Better?
Yeah, better. Yeah.
I want to do better. Yeah.
And I want more cool stuff to happen. What do I think is going to happen? I think for the most part we're going to try and... Because, we set up our own quest this time.
Yeah, that's true.
We have our own destination, whereas, before it was very much okay, now what? And then we did that. I feel like we're going to be a bit more on top of things. I'm definitely going to feel more comfortable with the characters and with side characters and stuff like that. I think it's going to be more good from the get-go.
Yeah, we'll start off knowing what we're doing, yeah.
And it won't be recorded on
the laptop microphone, yeah.
Oh, boy, that was rough.
Thank you everyone for listening to episode 1.
Yeah.
That's
we appreciate your sacrifice.
That's definitely a filter on who listens to our show. There's about 5 times as many listens on that one as there is on episode 2.
Yeah. So. And I can't super blame them.
No, I can't.
I also really want more of the world to get explored, because the
Me too.
majority of Knight's Quest specific stuff that we've explored is the library. And we've talked about elven stuff, and we've kind of dipped our toes into spirits and deities.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
But I really want to explore more of the culture of this world that we're in.
I thought you meant we specifically, geographically spent too much time in the library.
I mean, we did.
Get out of there. That's late. I mean, we haven't even recorded yet, but I've already got some ideas for new characters, new spirits.
Yes!
New places. God. As far as when that episode comes out, it'll be... I want to have something up and running by our 1-year anniversary, which I think is in August. So either A, that'll be one of those previous things we've talked about, or B, hopefully the show will be back.
Swing of things,
I'll be in the swing of things. Either that'll be the premiere, a trailer might come out that day, or it will have been started weeks before that. I have no idea. But that's for sure when I want to have something. So yeah, after this episode, it's gonna be a long, dry hiatus. Yeah. Obviously, if you want to listen to Knight's Quest again, you can do that, I suppose. But if you want to listen to more of Jake talking, they can.
Go check out Pensword.
Yeah.
Either through Stitcher, or we're on Spotify or iTunes Podcast, or whatever you use to listen to podcasts. We post every week on our Instagram at Pensword. Pens_word, I think.
Pensword.
They wouldn't let us put sword in our name. Yeah. And then we've also got an Instagram, or a Twitter and a Facebook that we post on as well.
So check that out. I've been able to guest on that. And then if you want to listen to another show that both Jake and Jamie have guested on, Jamie, you want to explain that one?
Absolutely. Our wonderful friend Kelly is running a podcast called Fanimated. And it was on hiatus for a while, but they actually just had one go up a week and a half ago.
Yeah.
And basically, it's Kelly, and she brings on tons of different people to talk about their favorite animated media, be that movies, video games. I think it's mostly films, a couple of TV shows and stuff. And they're so interesting because every time...
Somebody learns something.
Yes, exactly. The people who are the most excited about this random particular movie or TV show have seen things in it that no one else has. So they get to share that. And it's super cool because I'm listening to it and I'm thinking, like, I have never thought about that from the 1960 version of Cinderella. Like, who would have thought, you know? Like, it's so cool to see it with a new perspective.
Yeah, and like the episode that Kelly and I recorded, we were talking about Samurai Jack.
Yeah.
And you love that
she
show.
had only seen the new season, which had come out after, like, 15 years.
It was a crazy long time, yeah.
So it was really cool to talk about that.
Yeah, and then the other show, if you want to listen to it, it's called The Schroding Box, Schroeding. It's made by Josiah, again, the guy I created Knight's Quest proper with. There's only a couple episodes out right now, and they're all very short. You could probably listen to all of them in the amount of time it took you to listen to this episode. But it's very much like Welcome to Nightville, if you've ever heard that. Mystery Town.
Yeah.
You don't know what's going on. It just leaves loose ends. And so I want to message him like, are we going to solve these mysteries? Like, what's going on? But I think that's part of the fun is you don't know. And of course, we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for the show The Adventure Zone.
Just go fucking listen to The Adventure Zone.
Listen to The Adventure Zone. Yeah, they inspired us to do what we do, and I mean, they're better than us.
And a bunch of shows like it. Like, I'm subscribed to a couple other tabletop.
Critical Role?
Yeah,
Critical Role is one. There's also, I think it's called Bombardment.
Oh yeah, it's just a bunch of bards playing.
Oh, you told me about that. Yeah.
Again, we're not sponsored.
Bombarded. Yeah.
We're not sponsored by any of these shows. So if you're one of them, you want to pay us?
We're not sponsored by anything.
We're not sponsored by any.
And I'm not saying that as a positive. Like, oh, we're cool and independent. Like, I want to be sponsored.
Yeah.
I want to sell out.
Please pay us money.
I want to sell out as fast as possible.
So this can be a business.
There's also Hello from the Magic Tavern.
Yeah. So in the hiatus, check those out. Don't forget to come back to us. Don't leave us when you hear these other amazing shows. But yeah, that should scratch your itch.
I think I've already made this joke, but it would just be my dream come true if we're like doing a Knight's Quest episode and Rainer's like, "Hold on, guys," and he pulls out like a Coke. And we're just it ruins.
So refreshing.
It just ruins
Coke
the integrity
Zero.
of the show.
Coke Zero. Same great Coke taste now with zero sugar. And now a hint of added vanilla.
Or Gorg goes, you know what this drink is? It's better.
We get sponsored by the fictional company that we made up.
That we run.
That's amazing. Oh my god, please? Guys, we just give ourselves money. It's the perfect plan.
Why have I never thought of that?
Best business. Actually, it's kind of what better is, let's be honest. So the last question is actually kind of touching what we talked about. It's from Josh Krantz again. Thank you, Josh. I'll just read the whole thing he says. I really like what you three have done, and Season 2 could and will be amazing. So, if someone like me wanted to help be a part of your success, what could be done to help? What do you need to take it to the next level?
Oh my god, that's awesome.
Yeah, thank you for that.
Yeah.
That's really cool that you're interested in that. And for all the rest of you who are probably thinking that. I guess for me, I think the first thing is if we do want to be sponsored or something like that, we just need to have more people listening to our show. We do not have enough people. Like, even if we had a sponsorship, they pay by how many people listen.
Right.
We wouldn't even make $1 right now. Like, we would make nothing. I say this every week almost, but leaving reviews helps so that more people see the show on iTunes.
Yeah.
Or just, this is probably even better, just tell people that you know.
Tell people you think that are interested. Share it with friends. Share it with family. Whoever you want.
Classmates.
Who you think would enjoy our show.
Yeah.
Also, just being involved. Like, we absolutely love when people comment on our posts or send us their favorite moments from the show or ask us questions on social media because we try
fan art,
fan art is freaking amazing. Get involved on our social media because we love to see it. Other people would be interested when they see your stuff and like being able to interact with our listeners on a more regular basis.
Yeah, because
definitely helps our creative process.
As I said, we're not sponsored, so we haven't made a dime off of this. I don't think it'll ever be our full-time profession, but if we did have income, that would definitely justify the hours we put into it. Honestly, it would let us be able to buy better mics, more equipment. Here's another one. I love your feedback.
Yeah,
I thrive off of feedback, and I mean that in the things you like, but also the things you dislike. If you're
if you catch us out on stuff,
if we make a continuity error, or if we do something where you're like, hey, that actually wasn't funny. Obviously, please be polite about it. We need that feedback, and what you guys enjoy hearing. I'm not saying we're going to cater it, but if we're like, hey, they liked this. Well, we can do more of that. Or if that didn't go well, and maybe we were kind of feeling that didn't go well, then we might not do other stuff. So. Give us your feedback. Again, best way to do that's on social. And because that'll just help make us better at doing the show. I cannot say the word better in my entire life.
Everybody.
I literally, in my daily life, will say the word better, and I want to be like, better.
It's going to be ruined for everybody.
So the 2 ways you can help us go to the next level is give us your feedback and just tell more people. The bigger this community grows, more fun it'll be for you, too, because there'll be maybe more memes, more animated stuff, more fan art, and that's...
Oh my god, Knight's Quest memes, can you imagine?
We've got one.
We do?
We have one. It's on Facebook. You saw it. You liked it. I made it.
Which one? Oh, yeah. Yep.
Knight's Quest memes.
Eric Andre, yeah.
So that's all we got. So from the bottom of our heart, thank you so much for listening to all of this. It's just crazy that people listen to it.
Yeah. And
we'll keep you posted as new stuff comes out. Listen to other shows. Tell people about the show. And we'll see you. We won't see you. I always say that. We'll have another episode out for you eventually. So just wait.
Yeah.
Thank you for your questions, everybody.
Yeah, thank you.
Wow.
All right. And now...
Dicks!
And now... Damn it. Now I want to end it on that. No. And I present to you a bunch of times that Jamie said,
Wahoo! God damn it.
Wahoo! Woohoo! Woo! Woohoo! Wahoo! Woo! Wahoo!